From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Our top story, court proceedings spanning the entire day were held in the trial of a 54-year-old Arvin Kangas. Now, Kangas is charged with 3 felonies related to the murder of 2 Alaska State Troopers in Tanana. Stephanie Woodard has been covering the trial in Nenana and has more now in this report.
The defense wrapped up its case this afternoon in Nenana of Arvin Kangas, who's on trial for tampering with physical evidence in the murder of 2 Alaska State Troopers. Nathaniel Kangas, his son, was not able to take the stand per judge ruling this morning in Fairbanks. However, defense did call one witness, Kangas himself.
I'm not saying that. I said I remember what I heard in the tape, but I don't remember it.
Kangas was questioned about his cooperation with the 2 Alaska State Troopers, Sergeant Scott Johnson and Trooper Gabe Rich, prior to the incident.
I knew I was going to be arrested.
And they told you they were going to arrest you, didn't they?
Yeah.
In fact, you told them they weren't going to, didn't you?
Yeah, I was mad.
Arvin Kangas talked about his son's alleged mental condition leading up to the events.
2 weeks before this happened, they started noticing that this place reality. And I was worried about them, and then during that time, it's in February, I got where at different times I got afraid of them.
Prosecution grilled Arvin on whether or not he recognized his own voice on the recordings, stopping and playing it multiple times.
To tell you the truth, I don't really know.
Well, if it wasn't you, who would it have been?
I don't know. Well, how can I say when you don't remember?
Although Arvin did admit his son's alleged condition had been a hassle for him, he never admitted to actually hearing his own voice on tape.
Just like having a dog, it's just no different of me thinking about it, of having a dog out there that's going to bite somebody. Just all it is just a hassle. In the first place, any time that I needed help, he won't help me. Just like today, I told him I need help to tell the truth. But he's not here testifying.
Tomorrow, the jury of 14 people, 7 women and 7 men, will get the closing arguments, and it will be up to them what verdict they return. I'm Stephanie Woodard reporting from Nenana.
The Fairbanks City Council has passed an ordinance that makes smoking marijuana in private a minor offense if you disturb the peace and privacy of others. The ordinance takes effect this Saturday. Once enforceable, a person smoking marijuana in a way that disturbs the public can be ticketed and punished with a $100 fine. Police officers are required to provide at least 1 warning to anyone smoking marijuana recklessly before they can ticket them for the offense. The ordinance was passed unanimously.
In the reality of this, as we discussed about it, our guess is that this probably won't be implemented hardly at all, if at all, because of the caveats that are in here.
Members of the Senate Finance Committee defended the budget passed by the Senate, including proposed cuts to education as responsible, laying out a stark fiscal picture for the state. Failure to reach an agreement on a budget deal sent the legislature into overtime, and one of the main sticking points has been education funding. The Senate proposed cutting $47.5 million for schools next year. That was on top of a planned cut in the one-time school funds just approved last session. Governor Bill Walker first proposed that cut. Republican Senator Pete Kelly of Fairbanks said the fiscal cliff that was discussed in the late 90s has been reached.
This budget cycle, we have tried to respond to the fact that we've fallen off the cliff, and we're trying to save Alaska's financial future. We're trying to make sure that people will have jobs, that we can fund our schools, that we can have reasonable capital projects that tend to our infrastructure and take care of our maintenance, that we can have public safety, that we can have health care for people, and continue in some measure the lifestyle that we as Alaskans, particularly those that are dependent on government services, can continue into the future.
All right, when we come back, Borough Mayor Luke Hopkins discussed budget cuts and future projects at today's Chamber Luncheon. Also in our weekly health report, this month is Autism Awareness Month. We'll find out what advances are being made in the fight against autism. These stories and more when we return. Welcome back. Earlier this month, Fairbanks North Star Borough Mayor Luke Hopkins presented his final budget proposal to the Borough Assembly as he will term out this year. Today, he presented that budget to the local business community. Mayor Hopkins was the keynote speaker at the Fairbanks Chamber of Commerce weekly luncheon. His $155 million spending plan, which is currently being reviewed and amended by the Borough Assembly, includes no increase to the current mill rate. Hopkins says even cuts across all departments allow for the stable mill rate amid a $2.2 million decrease in the value of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline and a $1.6 million decrease in borough residential property value. The budget includes a nearly $1 million increase to local education funding. The school district last week asked the Assembly for an additional $7 million to offset potential funding cuts by the state legislature. Hopkins says the borough could fund the additional contribution, but not without a trade-off.
It can be absorbed, but it's not going to be without a cost to that, either fund reserve or in mill rate increase. And then the school district and the Assembly need to discuss what happens with the local contribution if there are going to be any major increase up to the $7 million. I would imagine that there will be an increase.
2 researchers from the University of Alaska Fairbanks have been selected to join a panel of scholars of the highest caliber. Energy researcher Gwen Holdman and biologist Tamara Harms have been chosen for the U.S. Department of State's Fulbright Arctic initiative. This collaborative research program was created to study the changing Arctic region. Goldman and Harms will start working with 15 other scholars selected from the 8 Arctic nations. The first session is to be held next month in Iqaluit, Canada. They will begin discussing collaborative projects under the program in addition to each member's individual research. Holdman says she will begin her work in Iceland, where she will gather information on the process and policies of export economy and geothermal expertise.
Our expertise here in Alaska is really around integrating renewable resources on small, isolated grids like many of our rural communities here in the state. I'm interested to know how we might be able to export expertise that we've developed in that area to other places and drive, revenue and jobs creation here in Alaska.
April is National Autism Awareness Month to draw attention to thousands facing an autism diagnosis each year. Monty Bowen has details now in this week's Health Report.
Nearly a quarter century ago, the Autism Society launched a nationwide effort to promote autism awareness and to assure that each person with ASD is provided the opportunity to achieve the highest possible quality of life. As part of the observance, there will be a parent training session in Fairbanks Saturday from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Step In Autism Services of Alaska office at 3568 Garrity Avenue. The topic is applied behavior analysis for parents. On another related subject, in the late 90s, a British researcher published a paper linking autism to the measles, mumps, and rubella, or MMR, vaccine. That paper was later found to be fraudulent. The researcher discredited and stripped of his medical license.
There is no increased risk, period.
A health consulting firm in Virginia called the Lewin Group studied more than 95,000 children. Some were already at risk for autism because they had older siblings with an autism spectrum disorder. Despite that increased risk, getting the MMR vaccine made no difference in the expected rates of autism.
This kind of paper will contribute to providing useful information for these people to come to an appropriate decision about vaccinating their children.
Many experts say autism research should stop focusing on vaccines and target instead the real causes. This is Monty Bowen reporting.
The Health Report is brought to you by the Ear, Nose, and Throat Clinic, located in the Medical Dental Arts Building, and by Interior Women's Health, located on 1626 30th Avenue.
It is Commitment Tuesday for Interior Sports. 3 local players signed national letters of intent, and another is headed to Fairbanks. Joe Cook is next with sports after the break.
Hello, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook here in the sports seat for you this evening with your Tuesday Sportscast. It's Commitment Tuesday once again, but more signings will take place later this week. Today, we highlight 3 local student athletes who signed national letters of intent at West Valley High School. Devin Prince Cooks signed his NLI to play Division II football for Newberry College, the Wolves. Cook lettered in 3 sports at West Valley: track and field, basketball, and football. Cooks is the first team Large Schools All-State selection and was first team All-Rail Belt as a wide receiver. Cooks caught 7 touchdowns for 560 yards on 38 catches, which would lead a Wolves team that went 5-6 last year. They earned an NCAA berth back in 2013. Newberry is in Newberry, South Carolina, which is a 4.5-hour drive from where Cooks grew up in Columbus, Georgia. He plans a major in physical education with a minor in athletic training. Cooks feels he can fit in with a program which has produced numerous NFL players.
If I want to get in and if I want to make an impact, just come in and work very hard to make everything work for me and work for the team. So I just know I got to put a big task on my shoulder and just go out there and work real hard to accomplish what I want to accomplish.
With Prince going there, I think that culture, he'll thrive. You know, that's something that he's been talking about doing, and he's chasing that dream right now with hard work and, you know, dedication, which he already had, and that's what he had here at West Valley. I think he'll leave a great legacy at Newberry.